Hello, listeners. I know it's been a week since we last did this, but I missed you. And in that time, so much has happened that we should talk about, like how New York City got a new mayor, the rest of the country experienced a pretty convincing blue wave, or how the Oval Office, the most recognizable room in the country, now has a sign outside of it that says, oh God, the Oval Office, in case its famous inhabitant doesn't recognize where he is. But instead of talking about the good or bad of any of these things, I want to just go a little bit more international, which is why I have some serious choice words for the man who recently sexually assaulted the literal president of Mexico, who, of course, happens to be a woman. You've probably seen the story or the video about how, while meeting crowds in Mexico City, President Claudia Sheinbaum was harassed by a man who was trying to grope and kiss her. I would wager that 99% of women have had some sort of unwanted advances like this happen because, hey, if it can happen to the president of a country in 2025, it can definitely happen to the rest of us. But here's a twist. President Sheinbaum is pressing charges against the man. She is not letting this go because she knows that her response to this situation is on behalf of all women this happens to who may not have the power to legally fight back. Look, hey, I'm not a lawyer. I don't think she needs my help. But if it would be helpful for me to carry boxes of paperwork or put any documents into binders, I would gladly help with this case. Boy, I love to see a leader lead by example and use her voice for good. This is Choice Words. I'm Samantha Bee. My guest this week is actor, comedian, and former White House staffer Kal Penn. Given the fact that he worked in the Obama White House, he has such interesting insight into the particular brand of crazy that is happening there right now. You can listen to his new podcast, Here We Go Again, wherever you're listening to this one right now. Plus, I just added new dates to my How to Survive Menopause tour, so go to samanthab.com to see if I'm coming to your neck of the woods. Until then, take a listen and make good choices. It's such a pleasure to see your face.
Yeah, good to see you. I think the last time I saw you was at Kerry Washington's book party.
Oh my God. That's such a name drop. It's a very good one.
It is actually. I didn't even think about what a name drop that would sound like to those who don't know Kerry.
Everybody knows Kerry. Everybody was at her book party. Yeah, that was really, to be invited to something like that feels like, you know what? When you get invited to stuff like that, are you like me, just really looking at all the chandeliers and the pieces of art on the wall and trying to figure out how?
This party, for our fine listeners, was at like a very nice apartment overlooking the water in New York City. And my book came out during COVID, so I never got the like human book party stuff. So I remember walking in there, obviously just being excited to see Carrie and celebrate her book and all of that. But first I was like, whose fucking apartment is this? This is, what do they do? And how come I don't have friends like this who can host my book party? And you immediately go into like insecure actor mode. And curious, I mean, we knew a lot of people there, right? We friends of friends and all of that. It was really cool. But yes, I also get very distracted at those things. Also, I'm always underdressed because I just thought all I saw was that it was at somebody's apartment. So I was like, I'll just wear jeans and a hoodie or something. That's what
I did. It looms large in my memory because I remember wearing jeans to it. And I was like, I'm so dumb. Why did I think that anybody here would? And I was like, but they were dark jeans. So they were almost like formal jeans. I'm like, why don't I just show up in a Canadian tuxedo? Like that should just be my signature. But I really I want to be one of those people who like hosts like soirees, but it will literally never occur. And all of my like Canadianness emerges in those things because I'm like, where's that from? What is that? What am I looking at? Look at this bookshelf, but you have to be very cool.
Right.
Like I see this all the time. This is how I live too. This is perfectly
Totally.
normal.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this view of all up and down the Hudson River. Yeah, that's regular.
It's not distracting.
Actually just came back did a big Planned Parenthood fundraiser in Los Angeles, Orange County,
Awesome.
San Bernardino. It was awesome. It was really, really fun, even in a dark time. And someone hosted it at their house. And I was like, be cool. Be cool,
Yeah.
Samantha Bee. Don't lift up vases and look underneath to see where it comes from.
I find that especially true in LA because people have more space to host things
do.
in LA.
Yeah.
And so going to people's houses, whether it's a political fundraiser or like somebody's like post premiere party or a screening or something, I'm just like, wow, you have all these objects because you have space that you need to fill.
Yes.
Right? So I'm like, so when you go on trips, you buy tchotchkes because you have space for them. Or like you have this piece of art that would never fit on my block.
I had someone come to my house once and they were like, it was not like a personal friend. It was like maybe they were like an amateur psychiatrist. I don't remember why they were in my house, but they said something. They were like, interesting. They like looked around my apartment and they were like, you have a lot of empty vessels in your home. That's interesting. And I was like, oh, what does that mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah, they're just urns in waiting. Like, I don't know why. What's going on? I've chosen several empty bowls to contain my ashes when I perish. Oh my God. Okay. We are not here to talk about home decor. What a week, right?
What a
We're
week.
coming off. So much has happened this week. Oh my God. How are you feeling? How are you reflecting?
I'm feeling hopeful. I'm feeling good. You know, all of the elections, there was a wide range, obviously, of Democrats who won, from the quite conservative to the Democratic Socialists. And so in some ways, what I thought was super interesting is the whole thing is a referendum on Trump, obviously.
Sure.
But it's also a referendum on the more conservative / moderate side of the Democratic Party as well. So I just thought that was such a fascinating dichotomy to be living in right now.
Right.
But also, like, look, people needed a little bit of hope. And what you saw in all those places was like voter turnout was super high.
Voter turnout was so high.
Yeah.
I actually changed my vote to be in the small town where I have a house because it was years ago because the school board was getting really stacked with people who were kind of like poking around at books and going like, should we have this in our libraries? And I was like, oh, you need, like, votes are decided here by like 60 votes. I'm like, I'm going to switch it. And even in this place, which like has never happened before, the Democrats just like swept it because people, they want more balance.
Yeah.
They see what is happening and they are rejecting it.
Yes.
Resoundingly.
I think that's right. I think people know these, you know, like you may agree with Republicans on much of the policy. Like Trump is fantastic. Every Republican president forever has tried to do the things that he's succeeded at doing. So on policy, I get it. But the authoritarianism is just, I think people are rejecting that as well, which is great.
They're rejecting.
Necessary.
Also, like, they seem to be rejecting that this, like, just owning the libs, like, at every opportunity, just like, I hate my enemies, like the hatefulness.
Yeah, it must be exhausting.
The top-down divisiveness, the hatred. It's too much.
Yeah.
It's too much.
It is too much.
And we're right here. We're in a week 6 of a government shutdown.
Yeah, I mean, longest it's been while we're speaking. I think it's 2 days longer than the previous longest one.
Good Lord. I just got off an overnight flight back from Los Angeles, and the airports are going to be so chaotic. I don't know. I have so much compassion for people. They're so perplexed. They're so confused. They don't know what to do. It's terrifying. Anyway, I don't
especially
know.
with the holidays coming up. I hope, it's just not a great situation.
It's a really bad situation. So, okay. Can we just talk about, because this podcast is called Choice Words. So we should talk about that. Just a hint of that. Just pepper it in. Are you good at making decisions for yourself? Are you like a are you a choice maker? Are you a person who digs in? Like, how do you make decisions for yourself?
I am not a calculated choice maker generally, and I'm about to contradict myself with a story. But I'm generally not meaning like I'm not going to make a wrong decision because it's the right one only business wise.
Oh, I see.
Like I envy people who can do that, who can compartmentalize everything, because it's a skill that I don't have, and I do think it's probably a necessary one sometimes in life. but generally, no. Generally, I'm the emotional. I'm not. It's not that I'm not a pragmatist, but generally, I'll go with the this feels right for me right now kind of decision maker. What about you?
It depends. You could just reach me on any day. I generally have like a set of criteria that if it's like, especially if it's a business, if it's like something career related, I generally put it up against kind of a short list of like objectives for making a right choice. Like, or does it financially contribute meaningfully to my life and the future of my children, or does it spiritually feed me? Like, does it do something for me that nothing else can do? Like, is it an adventure or a challenge or an unexplored territory? And actually, because I just got off an overnight flight, I forgot what the third one is. But those are two good ones.
We'll go with the two. The two are great.
But I usually feel I can tap into like an inner voice. It does take me weeks to get there sometimes. Okay. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you ruminate?
And that's the thing about some choices need to be made quickly. Right. And I'm generally like, I'll stick to whatever that decision is. But when you've got like just a couple of days to make a really big decision, oh my God, forget it. It's awful. Awful. And I have friends who are, who have like a business or marketing background or management background. Like, you should just make a decision tree. So if A, then here are all the other things that'll happen. Or B, here are the other things that'll happen. I'm like, I don't think you know how artists' brains work. I'm not thinking decision tree. I'm thinking like, what does this say about my work if...
What's my legacy? What's going to go on my tombstone? Right. What do I have? What am I going to have engraved on one of my empty urns? What's going to be on the side of that?
Yeah, what's going in those?
What can you think of a choice that you made that was like kind of a big one? Maybe you knew it was big. Maybe
I mean, there's one that kind of kicked off my career. And it's funny, we just talked about the election, and so I have told this story like a million times before, and I wrote about it in my book, but it'll maybe hit differently this week. So, whenever this, every actor, comedian starts out, you're like banging on doors to get work. You have a million odd jobs, all of that. And after like 4 years of looking, I finally got an agent. This is when I first lived in LA. This is like more than 20 years ago.
Right.
And she called one day and she said, there's a great audition for you for a supporting lead in a Ryan Reynolds movie. And at the time, Ryan had just he was on this sitcom called Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place.
Oh, yeah.
And Tara Reid had just finished American Pie, and they were the two leads of this movie. And she sends me the script. And I had to like beg her to email it to me because she wanted to meet with me to talk about the script. And I'm like, if it's a supporting lead and I don't have that many credits, like I'm happily going to audition for this. She sends me the script, and on the phone she goes, just so you know, the name of the character is Taj Mahal. And so I hung up on her, and I had no intention of reading the script.
Oh, God.
And she called back. She's like, I had a feeling that's how you would react. I was like, look, I didn't go to drama school. I can tell you the fact that he's not named after a human tells me everything I need to know about. This is a stereotype, right? She goes, look, it is. There are obviously stereotypical elements to it. But if you get this job, it would really allow me to pitch you for bigger things because you would have a comedy film credit, a studio comedy film credit on your resume. And especially for somebody who looks like you, but frankly for any actor, but especially for somebody who isn't white or black in the early 2000s, it's an important credit to get. So I read the script. It was stereotypical, but it was also deeply funny. Like both things were true simultaneously. And got a lot of advice from a lot of people, auditioned for it, ended up not getting a call back at first because they didn't think I was right for it. And then the more people I spoke to, the more mentors I had said, no, you need to like get that part. So I put myself on tape and wrote a little note to the casting director and sent it in, and it ended up getting cast, basically.
Okay.
And then I went through this long thing of, should I take the job? Should I not take the job? I finally obviously took the job, knowing that it was, not the ideal role, but hoping that it would lead to something else. And had I not done this movie, Van Wilder, which by the way had a great time, Ryan and Tara were wonderful. I just always feel like I need to give that disclaimer since I'm also talking about stereotyping, right? Like they were all, everybody was great. These are systemic challenges. These are not individual problems.
Right.
So when Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle comes around, clearly no shortage of guys who look like me and John Cho to play those parts. But my view is that one of the reasons that I got the part, and of course I'm proud of the audition I gave and all of that, but I was the only one who had a studio film credit on his resume because I agreed to do Van Wilder and fought to do Van Wilder, frankly. And so we've done 3 of those, hopefully do a 4th one.
Yeah.
And then my favorite film that I've ever had the chance to work on is a movie called The Namesake, which is based on a book by Jhumpa Lahiri that Mira Nair directed. And I read that, actually John Cho and I tried to get the rights to that book and found out that Mira already had gotten them. And so I began this really aggressive campaign to get an audition. She wouldn't see me. My agent wouldn't get a call back. So I wrote her a letter. And the letter I wrote her was about how her first movie, Mississippi Masala, was one of the catalysts for me wanting to become an actor. There were a few others, but that was one of the real things. She was a mentor to me, though I had never met her. I said, you have to let me audition for this movie. So she brings me in and she tells me that she got my letter and that for the last 6 months, her then, I think, 13-year-old son, Zohran Mamdani, was a huge Harold and Kumar fan and had been begging her to audition me and showed her clips from Harold and Kumar, which only hurt my case because she was like, what is this puerile stuff that you're showing me? Like, this is just so juvenile. This is the wrong guy for my independent drama. And then she got my letter and was like, oh, this is the same guy my son is telling me to audition. Fine, I'll audition you. And long story short, I ended up getting the part. So had I not done Van Wilder, right? Had I said to myself, this is too much of a stereotype. There's no place for it to be malleable. There's no benefit to my career long term. Maybe I still would have gotten cast in the other 2, who knows? But my story is not that. It's that led to Harold and Kumar, that led to The Namesake, and it led to a few other opportunities.
Oh my gosh, what a story.
Crazy, right? Crazy.
That is crazy. Now you endorsed him from the beginning when he was like polling
when he was 14
digits. When he was 14 years old. Where did your confidence come from? Because we've been friends since he was a kid. After I've always thought he was very thoughtful. The smile that you see, the personality, all of that has just look at pictures of him when he was a kid. He was exactly the same. But he'd reached out to me when he was running for state assembly, and I knew him when he was an organizer in New York as well, which is something he did after college. But helped him out with his assembly campaign, because why not? Sometimes you do that with lifelong friends. But the thing that really made me open my eyes and say, oh, you're actually quite good at this, is there were a few touch points where he kind of reached out. One was a few years ago, he went on a hunger strike with New York City taxi drivers. So there's a thing in New York where in order to be a cab driver, you have to buy something called a medallion. They're insanely expensive. They're hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yes, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
The whole thing is a racket. And basically a lot of cab drivers are heavily in debt and taken advantage of through these predatory lenders. And Zohran was really pushing with the Taxi Workers Alliance to get debt relief for these taxi drivers. And we had a Democratic mayor at the time who couldn't really care less. I remember calling a couple of people on his team who I knew, and I said, do you know this guy Zohran and the Taxi Workers Alliance? They're on a hunger strike for this thing. And they sort of scoffed and said, yeah, no, we know about that. And Zohran had texted and said, on day 12 of this hunger strike, could you just stop by? I know that, you know a lot of the organizers. It'd be a real morale boost for the people who are on this hunger strike, if you have time. And so I went down there and, he's legit on a hunger strike. And what am I? I'm an actor / former, White House aide. I don't know what value I have in being down there, but to see the work that he was doing on the ground, I was like, bro, this is actually like this is very inspiring to see somebody actually do this right outside City Hall, to be on this hunger strike. And a couple of weeks later, they had pressured the mayor into moving forward with a negotiated settlement on that. So there were a couple of things like this that I had seen over the years that made me say, hey, maybe there's a like you clearly are very talented at what you're doing, aside from my own personal bias. And then, but a couple of months before, maybe a month before he announced formally his mayoral run, we had breakfast, and he shared that with me and a few other friends. And I said, yeah, obviously, let me know what you need. We don't love the current mayor. But I do think, I think it's one of those cases where, at least in my experience, I know him personally for decades before I knew him in his political life. And to see somebody who has led personally with love and with kindness, and he's never afraid to talk to anybody. And this is all going to sound so fucking cliche now that he's the mayor-elect, and I'm going to sound like such a little right. But what
are you gunning for?
Somebody who loves our city so much and is not afraid to talk to people who disagree with him politically. I was just like, I feel like we miss that. We're in this age of yelling and screaming at each other on Twitter or whatever people even use nowadays. I got rid of my Twitter.
Oh yeah, me too. Long time ago.
But so that's a very long-winded way of saying,
But I think I do think that we can agree that Eric Adams did bring the swagger back. I mean, that was my number one goal. What are we going to do now?
We should all aspire.
What are we going to do now?
Yeah.
Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. You need the right person with the right background who can move your business forward. If I was looking for a candidate that matched exactly what I was looking for, I'd use Indeed sponsored jobs. Let's just say, I don't know, random. Let's just say I was looking to hire a new editor for this show. I would go on Indeed and be super specific about what I was looking for, not just can edit audio. I'd say, I need someone who's edited conversational podcasts for at least 3 years, who kind of gets our style and knows the software we use. Someone like a cool person, someone who's done this before. And here is the thing with Indeed sponsored jobs, I'd get people who fit that description. I'm not digging through resumes from people who've edited one YouTube video. I'm getting actual podcast editors who know what they're doing. People who've worked on shows like ours and can prove it. That is what makes the difference. With Indeed sponsored jobs, you get people with the exact qualifications that you're looking for. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs because you reach a bigger pool of quality candidates. Join the 1.6 million companies that sponsor their jobs with Indeed. Plus, with Indeed sponsored jobs, you only pay for results. No monthly subscriptions, no long-term contracts, just a boost whenever you need to find quality talent fast. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes, less stress, less time, more results now with Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/SamB. Just go to Indeed.com/SamB right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/SamB. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Do it the right way with Indeed. You know what's ridiculous? Food waste. When food rots in landfills, it creates methane, which heats the planet 80 times faster than CO2. And most of that food waste is from our homes. But there is good news. This is a problem we can actually solve. Meet Mill. Mill is a food recycler, and it's the cleanest, easiest way to keep food out of the trash. You just drop in scraps, those sad leftover chicken tenders, the apple core, or the pumpkin guts from your fall carving, and Mill quietly transforms them into nutrient-rich grounds overnight. No smell, no mess, no fruit flies, and you can keep filling it for weeks. You can use your grounds in your garden, or Mill will send them to farms for you. We've been using Mill for months, and honestly, it has changed how I think about waste. My kitchen never smells anymore. Fridge cleanouts don't stress me out, and I love that I'm not taking out a dripping trash bag every other day. Doing something good for the planet has never been this easy, but you have to live with Mill to really get it. Good thing you can try it risk-free and get $75 off with code SAM. Visit mill.com/SamB. That's mill.com/SamB. I do want to talk about your time in the Obama White House, because if people don't know, you were the associate director of the White House Office of Public Engagement and a liaison to young Americans. Do you think, is there a single job like that in do any of those jobs exist, or are they just held by like Nick Fuentes? Like, what are we doing?
First, I think let's acknowledge what a terrible title that is for a job.
It's a terrible title.
Really just doesn't show you what it's about. So all that job is I was Obama's point person on outreach to young people. That's all. The youths.
Point person on the youths.
The youths. And by the way, youth. In that case, I think youth was like under 35s or under 30s, something like that.
Right.
So it was just generally young people. And that was my primary job. I also worked on Asian American outreach and arts outreach here and there. I don't know who has that job now. I know that, for example, like even not to throw shade now, but like Biden didn't even have somebody who had that job, which is.
I want to say that he should have.
Well, sure. I had been lobbying that they also hire a new me, but what are you going to do? But I think so. That job was like anything that came across the. I don't want to say the president's desk because that's not accurate, but anything that the White House did that was focused on young people. So, for example, not the entire Affordable Care Act, but the component of the Affordable Care Act that lets people under 26 stay on their parents' health insurance plan. The outreach part of that would fall on my desk, not the policy, but the outreach part of that. Same thing with the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, or Pell Grants, or I have to say there's probably like 1,000 other things that weren't vitriolic or sexy enough to end up in the news that nobody really knows about, but affects young people. So it was stuff like that.
Remember when we had adults doing stuff, like experts doing things?
Yeah.
And not just like.
And not actors like me.
Fox News personalities starting wars. Remember?
Yeah,
those times?
I think the shocking thing about that is that well, there are many shocking things, but yes, to put in senior leadership, to put people who don't know what they're doing is really wild. And this is maybe a good time to do the disclaimer of like, I remember when I took that White House job, my manager at the time was like, do you realize that nobody has ever gone from Hollywood to work in politics? And like literally the governor was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
What?
So I'm like, that's such a ludicrous thing to say. There are plenty of people who have. And one thing that I had kept kind of quiet just because I didn't want it to be a newsy thing at the time was I was going to grad school for international security because I'm a nerd and I like that kind of stuff. So there was this weird skill set that I had built alongside this. And so, but then obviously when there are articles that come out that are like, stoner actor goes to work for Obama. It's like, well, there's a little more to it, but sure, we can go with the clickbait. I get it.
That's fine. I just remember everybody being so mad when like they made Rick Perry the Secretary of Energy or something. Yeah. It was something like that. And he didn't even know that he was in charge of the nuclear arsenal, and he couldn't even say nuclear.
Yes.
He was like, the nuclear arsenal? What?
That kind of stuff is bonkers.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Do you think that, I mean, listen, as we're speaking, Nancy Pelosi has just announced that she's retiring at the end of this term. Do you think that this wave of enthusiasm of younger voters is going to lead to more elder statesmen kind of just going, maybe I'm going to get off the Facebook now and go out, get a boat, go fishing.
What a kind way of saying putting yourself out to pasture. Get a boat.
I know. I pulled back. I pulled through it.
I hope so. I mean, I hope so for a couple of reasons. Look, I am obviously quite a lefty. I support people like Zohran, and we align on quite a bit. There's obviously also quite a bit that I disagree with somebody like him on, but generally, I have a lot of friends in the mainstream Democratic Party. I have friends at the DNC who call and ask for advice. And even this week, one of the most shocking things, this was really after the last presidential election, but people would call and they would say, and they still say, do you have any advice on what mainstream Democrats can do to tap into youth vote, right? Because I was Obama's youth vote guy. And I say, sure, talk about things they care about in a policy way that doesn't talk down to them. So disproportionately, they care about all the affordability issues, which is something Zohran ran on. They care about universal declarations of human rights, which obviously ties into places like Gaza and Israel and Sudan and India and Saudi Arabia. And so the idea that young people don't vote based on international affairs is not necessarily true, as we've seen in at least the mayoral election. They care about rent, putting food on the table, safe access to public transit, all of those things. And the Dems will say, okay, yeah, but like besides that, like, is there, like, what can we do to capture young people? I'm like, nothing. You should just call yourselves Republicans. That's what you should do.
You can't. I'm not young. I'm 56. What am I talking about? But also I do think that the ability to speak extemporaneously on subjects, the ability to just flow with the way that you speak is actually critical. Like if you really can't speak without prepared notes on a given topic, like everybody uses notes. We all have materials and everybody has research and people supporting them and crafting materials for them. But if you can't deliver it in a way that is heartfelt and casual in a way, but also sophisticated and kind of witty and kind of with it, it's not going to be successful for you. Nobody's interested in a canned statement anymore at that time. That ship has sailed.
That ship has gratefully sailed, I think, and also seeing, even people, the oldies, right? Like I hope, Nancy Pelosi, obviously a great example, but I hope like the Chuck Schumers of the world will also say, hey, my time to maybe step down is now, and there's so much great leadership to move up. Even somebody like, look, in my district, my rep is Hakeem Jeffries. Now, I don't like him. I don't think he serves us well at all. I think he tries to lead from this fake place of fear. Like, I don't know if you saw his silly government shutdown baseball bat picture where he's like, oh yeah, we're going to stand up hard. And it's just like a lame picture of him holding a baseball bat. Like, bro, come on, stop. So I think he'll have some primary challengers. I hope there's some nobody's announced, but like I read some article about this guy, Chiose, who's in the New York City Council, who may try to primary him. I think those are, even if those things fall short, I think they're very good things to do and very important conversations to have, because primaries are the place for new ideas to rise to the top. So what you're talking about is like, is it time for all these older folks to step aside? I think yes, but I also think the wonderful opportunity to show who's in the pipeline through primary challenges is important.
Well, and I hope because I do think there are going to be, I mean, certainly when it comes to Nancy Pelosi, because she was so effective. She was so good at what she did. People love her, people hate her, but she was really effective.
Yes.
Okay. But I hope that people like her are bringing people forward. Like, you know what I mean? That's the issue. If you cling to power too hard and you don't want to let it go, like, are you mentoring people? Are you bringing people through the system to create a next wave of great leaders? I hope so. I don't actually know the answer to that.
I can tell you.
I want to assume yes.
For her, I can tell you yes. Like I remember, look, when I was in the White House, I remember that somebody in the presidential personnel office, that's office responsible for hiring across the federal government, said that there was a staffer in the Department of Commerce who Pelosi personally was pushing really hard for him to get a particular job, and that guy is now Congressman Ro Khanna. Oh, so there are these, like, there are definitely people in the pipeline who, who folks are pushing for in the right way. I'll also say this might be an interesting, like I'm also old enough to have the following perspective, right? Like there are people who, especially young people, progressive young people, who view Obama as a massive disappointment, and they view him as a moderate. And I think that's wonderful, because the luxury of being in 2025 and taking for granted all of the things that he got done means that you can look back and say, that guy is such a moderate. When in reality, at the time that we were trying to move things along, those were phenomenally progressive policies that you had to wrangle votes for. And I'm not saying it was perfect. And obviously even me, when I was there, I was like, this is all we can do. I want to do more. Right. But that means that if the goalposts move over a period of 15 years, that's literally a sign of progress. So it's not to throw shade at the Chuck Schumers, although I'm happy to do so because I don't quite like him. But it's not about that. To your point, he and Nancy Pelosi and other leaders have done a tremendous job at a time where the work that they were doing was so critical, and to have this pipeline of people who are standing on their shoulders and who can take things forward in an even more bold and progressive and inclusive way is really important. I think it's just important to recognize the legacy instead of just doing the like fun shade throwing.
And I want to add this too. We also need people who can speak fluidly and fluently about abortion.
Yes.
We cannot have people in positions of leadership anymore who can't talk about abortion without making a face.
Yep.
We need that fluency, that kind of that facility.
Yes, I think that's
desperately. You must have spent endless hours in the East Wing. Was it your goal to also tear it down brick by brick?
I mean, it was kind of a shitty building, to be honest.
It was not a good building.
There was no gold.
No gold.
All.
Gold toilets. There were no boxes of top secret files in the bathrooms. It was just a boring, rickety old. Are people caring too much about the building? I kind of think they are thinking about it a little too much, but it does feel symbolic of a, tearing down of everything we hold dear. What are your former White House colleagues saying about this?
Yeah, I think
it needed work. It needed work.
There was, the only thing I've heard because I think you're right. I think, who knows? I haven't been following this crazy construction thing he's doing intimately enough to know whether he tore down the East Wing because he could or because there was no alternative. My suspicion is that,
I have a theory.
Oh, go ahead. What's your theory? What's your theory?
I literally have a theory that all the people around him were like, we need to give him something to think about and do. He is really getting all up in our business, and we have really important stuff to fuck up. So we need to give him a little choo-choo train job. What can we do? We're they're just put a hard hat on him. The only thing he really knows is construction sites and walking around them he knows about building. So they probably made him a special gold hard hat. And it just gives him a little hobby or a little dinky toy to fool around with.
Interesting. Okay.
To keep him out of their hair as much as possible, even though he's doing much too much in the way of international relations. Stay home and
said.
play with your ladders.
That's also the sweetest conspiracy theory I think I've ever heard. Nobody is injured in this theory. Nobody's out to get anybody else.
No, people are terribly injured. It's a nightmare. They want to do terrible things.
Sure.
But he also wants to do terrible things. And they just want to be able to do stuff unfettered without him just going what is everybody talking about? Yeah. They want him to stop talking.
Yes.
I don't know. That's my theory. I wouldn't say that it's gentle because it is a Band-Aid. It is a little masking extremely nefarious activities of the worst kind. We'll be invited to the ballroom.
Sure.
Oh my God, you as a liaison to the arts community did a lot of work at the Kennedy Center. A lot of stuff going on at the Kennedy Center. What? It's been a hostile takeover there.
I haven't been following it because most of the art stuff that I did was not programmatic. It was a lot of arts education, cultural diplomacy.
Yeah.
So our biggest two things were there was a pilot program for holistic arts education in underperforming rural and urban schools. And then there was a lot of art and diplomacy around softening relations with Cuba, which both Trump and Biden reversed,
Yes.
sadly.
Sadly.
But so those were most of the things that we were doing. And some of it is like, some of the stuff that we worked on, this is maybe a good example of when I tell you that like it wasn't vitriolic enough to make the news. It was stuff like, okay, at the time, there weren't enough trained bureaucrats in the State Department who processed artistic visas. So when a dance troupe, let's say you had a dance troupe from Guatemala that was coming and a stand-up comedian from Japan, if the bureaucrat had a pile of things they had to look at that day, they would just Google the name of the stand-up comedian from Japan. And if they saw there was an Instagram or Twitter and they saw that person had like 1 million followers, they'd be like, great, approved. We believe that you're doing shows here. And if you were a small dance troupe from Guatemala and you had no social media presence, but you were truly globally a rare art form, you would get rejected because they couldn't quickly Google anything about you.
I see.
So it became this bizarre thing where even if you showed that this dance troupe had a 50 US city tour sold out, once those visas got canceled, what happens in these communities? Restaurant reservations go away, theater cancellations and income, hotel reservation, all the ancillary economic benefits of the arts immediately disappear. And this was happening at scale enough that we needed to fix it. And so that was one of the kind of projects that the President's Committee on the Arts and Humanities took on early, liaised with. Similarly, TSA. TSA technically was this has been a while, so forgive me if this is wrong now, but technically an independent federal agency, which meant that we couldn't tell them exactly what to do. There's a whole mechanism. But what you could do is use the convening power of the White House to bring the TSA together with the musicians' unions, because one of their big issues was sometimes airlines force you to check your bag, even if there's space. And if it's an instrument delicate that obviously a baggage handler doesn't know how to properly handle, and instruments were coming back broken as musicians were going to various gigs. So similar thing, like you have to cancel a gig, which then has these economic impacts on local communities, generally smaller communities, right? So how do you fix that? So there were things like that that we did. So I don't really know a lot of what's happening at the Kennedy Center.
Wow, I can't even tell you how nervous I would be to put my very delicate instrument in the care. Just like I once watched, I was on a plane and I saw my suitcase get thrown down a chute and like from the plane, and I was like, it's now just a dented can of tuna.
Yeah.
Like I got to the other side. It's now my suitcase is a triangle. Like you should not be launching it 50 feet down from. Oh my God. You know what? What the story you just told tells me is that I miss nerds. I miss nerds.
Yeah.
I wish we need more nerds.
Yep. I don't disagree.
Your new podcast, Here We Go Again.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to talk about Here We Go Again because I just kind of had a Here We Go Again experience.
Oh, what was it?
Well, it was in LA and I went to see Monuments, which is this big new, like I think it just opened, this big new exhibition of like decommissioned Confederate monuments.
Oh, interesting.
And it's really, I highly recommend it. It's at Mocha Geffen. Anyway, it's incredible. And just seeing those kind of relics, or the way in which the whole exhibition is, I feel like we're there again. And there are people who would fight now to put those monuments back up.
Yeah.
And I feel like here we go again. We're going to have a fight over like like there's a replica of the Robert E. Lee from Dukes of Hazzard, just like nose diving into the sand. It's super cool. But I'm like, what? Here we go. I mean, really, here we go again. Yeah. We're going to have people fighting to put them back up? Are you fucking kidding me?
That's not so far off from why we made this podcast.
Right.
So
history just keeps repeating itself.
Exactly. Ed Helms' company and I came up with this concept that looks at history and pop culture and trends that repeat themselves ideally in an uplifting way, right? And I'll give you some examples. Our first episode that's already out is with Bill Nye talking about the space race. And I'm a huge space nerd. But back in the day, the space race was mostly, it came out of competition between the Soviet Union and the United States. And a lot of it was weaponized. And then it was like, oh, can we explore the moon? You know, Sputnik was the first satellite. It was Russian. So we had to then compete. And today, a lot of that competition is in the private sector. And a lot of it's like just billionaire hobbies.
Right.
So I wanted to know how has that changed? The here we go again of it is, okay, well, the Cold War ended and we were exploring space through these dynamic, international relationships, and then enter the billionaires. So why did that happen now? And then where do we go from here? And so it's not while it's very easy to criticize the billionaires, that wasn't the point of the conversation. The point of the conversation was, why are they actually doing it? And is there hope for space exploration? What's the next step of what happens? And so Bill, because he heads the Planetary Society, knows all of this stuff about specifically that, right?
God, I love Bill Nye. I love him.
He's so good. So good. God. So that's one example. Another nerdier example is Pete Buttigieg came on to talk about, this is such a terrible word, so we were trying to figure out how to couch it in a fun podcasty way. Obviously to talk about infrastructure, but nobody wants to listen to a podcast if you're saying it's a podcast about infrastructure.
That's you just cue the sexy tones.
Yeah.
Cue sexual healing.
Yes. Oh, can you tell me a little bit about it? So instead, I was like, what I was curious about with that was like, all right, in the 50s-ish, there were a whole bunch of roads and bridges and stuff that were built, and now so many of them are literally collapsing or falling apart.
Oh, yeah.
We have a government shutdown. We can't agree on anything. So why did that happen back in the day? And then the here we go again of it is, why can't we actually fix it now? Or are we fixing it and we just don't know? And then frankly, just because I had the former transportation secretary on, I was like, I need to waste everybody's time and just ask you, how come if your flight is shockingly early, that they're like, oh, sorry, we're going to sit on the tarmac for 30 minutes. We don't have a gate available, because they didn't know we were coming. Of course they knew you were coming. That's literally how this works. You saw us on a radar the whole way and we landed. So what's the real, why does this happen all the time? So even petty questions for my guests.
Wait, what's the answer? Why do they do that? That just happened to me not even 2 weeks ago.
The answer is apparently in staffing and logistics. So the gates are pre-assigned. So it's not always possible. You might see an open gate, but that gate might also be reserved for another incoming flight. And so there isn't a great mechanism for, if you pull in there, then they can pull in there, because planes are also different sizes. Right. So they can't all go to each gate. It was really a very unsatisfying answer because it made sense. I was like, all right, fine. I just thought this was somebody not doing their job properly.
Everybody just get a spare bagel to put in your bag, because no matter what, you're not getting home. You're not getting there too early.
Exactly.
You love space. Did you go to space camp? Do I have that correctly?
Did you go to space camp?
No, I hate space. We're opposites.
Why do you hate space?
I think it smells like cabbage. I don't want to go there.
Okay,
I would never go to space. It'll be Blade Runner. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna park it here. I'm gonna roll the dice.
Okay.
But you would go to space.
I would go to space.
Oh God! Wow.
Look, I will never have the money to go to space. So unless it's one of those PR flights that somebody thinks that I'm good at, which I am available for anybody
Available
listening.
for
Very
PR
available
flights.
For PR flights.
What if Donald Trump was like, I'm going to space. Will you come on my space plane? Space plane! That's how much I hate
Spaceship.
space.
If Donald Trump said, Cal,
Yeah.
will you come on a spaceship and we're going to space for like an hour or whatever.
And we're going to hold hands and gossip together.
Yeah, you would see how quickly I abandon my morals and politics to go to space with that beautiful man who has invited me. I would be there in a second. I wouldn't even bring up politics. It would be everything that's wrong with humanity would be in me. I would immediately be selfish.
You have to rub cream into his legs.
Oh, God. Now we're playing Would You Rather. Now this turns into a game of Would You Rather.
Oh, yes.
This
yes.
was okay. God, would I? Okay, fine. Then, if the condition was I would I have to rub the cream in his legs in space or before we leave?
In space.
In space. So
in space, you have a large jug of vino. Who's not a sponsor of this podcast?
Yeah.
This is advertising for them, and it's free. You have a large bottle of vino, and you have to massage his veins.
Yes,
because something's going on with them.
So still yes, but in that case, then I would discuss politics while I'm doing it.
Okay, there are.
It would be an
conditions.
opportunity for the because he doesn't listen to people on the left. So I would
true.
then have it would be an obligation, Sam. It would be something that I am doing as a service.
I'm picturing it now, and it is so funny to me. And I feel like it might be the only way to get through to him. I actually just need to leave everybody with that mental image. Oh my God. I should do more podcast recordings after getting off an overnight flight because I have such good ideas.
So good.
Good idea alert. I want to thank you for talking to me today. I always love talking to you.
Same. Thank you for having me.
I think your podcast sounds great.
It's been a lot of fun. Please tune in. It's a lot of fun. It's also if you, sort of like this one, if you want to enjoy a good listen, learn a little bit, and kind of turn the episode off feeling good about something, it's a great one.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sam. Good to talk to you. All right.
That was Kal Penn, and I had no choice but to look up one thing. We were talking about the cost of taxi medallions, which are such a racket, and so many cab drivers are in debt because of them. Well, currently, the average cost of a taxi medallion is $90,000 to $200,000, which sounds crazy until you learn that in 2013 it was around $1 million. Oh, boy. Okay, thanks for joining us. I'm Samantha Bee, and we will see you next week for some more Choice Words. Thank you for listening to Choice Words, which was created by and is hosted by me, Samantha Bee. The show is produced by Svea Baron-Reinstein with editing and additional producing by Ryan Connor. We're distributed by Lemonada Media, and you can find me at RealSamB on Instagram. Follow Choice Words wherever you get your podcasts or listen ad-free on Amazon Music with your Prime membership.